Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today the main agenda to discuss about the topic is non-function requirement. Non-function requirement in performance testing plays a major role, and we have to prepare non-function requirement document with the help of like business analyst people or project team people, where NFR, it also called as in short form NFR, where before creating the test plan, before creating the script, NFR is a major document which we get from the client end. This NFR contains like CBTs, critical business transactions, peak hours, off peak hours, expected average response times, number of transactions per hour, and hardware threshold statistics like CPU, memory, heap, swapping, and we have to gather like what kind of test we're supposed to perform in terms of like availability, serviceability, scalability, benchmark, failover, spike. So before once we need to get the requirements, we will set up a call. In that call all the team members get involved, like testers, developers, architecture, network, stakeholders, all the people get involved in that call. As a performance tester, we used to ask in terms of like what we raise the questions like what client is expecting from us to perform on his application, whether he is having, whether he is expecting load or stress or endurance or spike testing. And we raise the questions like whether client already has baseline or benchmark results with him or not, and when the client is going to release into the production. And architectural wise, we ask the requirements like what are the servers are available in the production and their configuration numbers, CPU boxes, RAM size, hard disk size, IP address, OS information. So these are related to architectural requirements we ask in the call. And related to business wise, like we raise the questions like whether he is going to provide the scenario. As a client, he is going to provide the scenario or we need to identify the scenario. If at all we want to identify the scenario based on the use cases or test cases, we identify the critical scenarios like in business requirements, like we'll ask a scenario which is used by more number of users or a scenario which through critical errors. Before preparing the non-functional requirement document, we will ask all these questions to the client in the call. Once we get all the requirements on the client end, we will get the business document from them. Once we get the business document, we get reviewed and we get approval from all the team members. Once we get reviewed and approved from all the team members, then we will go for the next step for preparing a script or test plan. So here there are several cases. Before preparing the non-function requirement document, there are several cases like client, there are majorly two cases involved, like client knows about performance testing or client doesn't know about performance testing. In case 1, if client knows about performance testing, like he will directly provide the non-function requirement document, so that once we get the document, we analyze that and we came to know like how many transactions need to be executed, how many concurrent user need to be applied, and what rate each transaction need to be executed. And there is one more case, like client doesn't know about performance testing. In this case again we have two cases, like application is already in production environment or it's a new application. Suppose if the application is already in production environment, we need to get the production log files for 1 year historical data using site analytical tool or Splunk tool, and we need to try to identify the top 5 days from that, how many number of visitors are accessing that application, and how many page views are happening, and which JSP ASP pages are mostly accessed by the end users, from which region they are accessing the application, and based on the visitors you can identify the users, based on the page views you can identify the transactions, based on the JSP ASP pages you can identify the CBTs, based on the IP address we can identify the location or region, and we need to conduct the baseline testing to identify the expected response times. So DBA will help to get this production log information. So in this test we have mainly go for the worst cases of the application, like how many transactions are executed per weekday, how many transactions are executed per weekday hour, peak week, month, and peak load information, throughput information, and response time, and things like what are the critical business scenarios used in the production environment, peak load, ramp up, ramp down, and duration. So these production log we will get from the DBA, and we will get a time of around 1 to 2 years of production log from DBA. And there is one more case, like client doesn't know about performance testing and application not in production. In such case we need to get the competitor statistics and conduct the performance testing. Like there is a tool called network traffic utilities. Using network traffic utilities we need to get the competitor statistics and identify NFR in terms of peak hours, half peak hours, number of users, number of page views, from which location they are accessing the application, which page is mostly accessed by the end users, and what are the expected average response times of every page. So there is one more case, if client doesn't know anything about performance testing and if it is a new application. If it is a new application we directly consult with business analyst, and we will ask questions in terms of like general architecture, business requirements, such as what client is expecting from us to perform on his application, whether he is expecting load, stress, endurance, or spike test. And we raise a question like whether the client already has some baseline or benchmark results with him or not, and when the client is going to release into production. These are the general requirements we ask to the client. Coming to architectural requirements, we raise the questions to know what are the servers are available in the production, what are the configuration numbers, CPU boxes, ROM size, hard disk size, IP address, OS information. These are the architectural requirements we get from the client end. And coming to business requirements, we raise the questions to know whether he is going to provide the scenario or we need to identify the scenario. So these are the questions in terms we ask if the application is new So there is one more case, such as client doesn't know about performance testing and application not in production, and we don't have a competitor in market. In this particular scenario, we need to try to understand the core business of the application and convert the core business to online business. By converting, we need to identify how many number of users, number of transactions, CBTs, from which region they are accessing the application, and conduct the baseline test to derive the we need to derive the SLAs. In this case, we will directly ask the business analyst questions such as how many number of customers do you have in the core business, how many of them are going to register online services, how many of them are active users, how many of them are daily users, what are the peak hours of the business. These are all the questions we ask. So some cases, such as suppose we have an application where stakeholders and projects is not in a situation to cover the requirement, so then we approach business analyst to finalize the NFR. So these are the cases where we will get the requirements in such cases. So NFR is a document which will be prepared once we get the POC. So this is about NFR. Thanks once again.